Welcome to Sober.Coffee, a weekly coffee chat sharing experience, strength, and hope for anyone on the sober road to recovery. You can download Sober.Coffee weekly on all podcast platforms and check us out on Instagram at Sober.Coffee Podcast and on Twitter at Sober.Coffee Pod. To learn more about us and to help support these sessions, visit online at Sober.Coffee. Here are your hosts, two guys on their own path to recovery, Mike and Glenn. Let's join them at the coffee shop.
Mike, Glenn, and a bunch of other great people walking the path of sobriety. How you doing, Glenn?
You know what, man? I'm doing super bumbly fantastic.
Super bumbly fantastic.
Yeah, whatever that means.
Can you define that, Glenn?
Yeah, so I have two daughters. When they were young, they would always ask me how I'm doing, probably because I was hungover. But I would always say super bumblebee fantastic.
You didn't steal that from somebody?
No,
that was you coined it?
I coined it, yeah.
I love it. They still use it?
No.
No, not as a...
No, we have rebuilt and we have restored new ways of living.
Okay, with new terms.
Yep, we don't use a lot of the old terms.
That's awesome.
Started fresh.
Hey, I want to jump right in today because...
Let's go, man.
Yeah,
Table for three.
Table for three. We have these short sessions. We try and cram as much as we can into it. And this morning we have Ian Fee with us. And I don't know how we hooked up exactly, Ian. I think maybe a publicist might have been in the picture, but I'd have to go back and look. So I should have done the shout out to whoever.
Well, I think he was
hooked us
on
up.
Joe Rogan last week, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not quite yet. Soon.
He's doing
Soon.
the docket. Yeah, that's right. Anyway, Ian is an author of a book, Wild Ride to Sobriety, a transformation from drunken oblivion to profound clarity. And welcome aboard, man. Welcome to the coffee shop, Ian. We appreciate
Thank
you
you. I
taking time
appreciate
out.
it. I'm jealous. You got breakfast sandwiches going on over there.
Oh, you know it, man. We got
Yep.
little muffins. We got coffee.
Plenty of coffee.
Mikey runs on Dunkin'. It's good stuff, and I'm energized by the coffee, but was quite energized by the book too. I think I love the way it was written, laid out. There's several things we can unpack in there, but oops, there's that word again, Glenn.
Unpack.
Several things that we could talk about in there. Yeah, I think we've both concluded that unpack is like a probably too commonly used phrase these days.
We can talk about.
Yeah, I think I'll
You got to
unpack
find a new
that.
term. Find a new one.
That's right. So anyway, what I would ask most authors, why write the book? You do a pretty good job of talking in the book of why you wrote the book, but let me ask it for the listeners anyway. Why write the book, A Wild Ride to Sobriety?
Well, for me, is such a drunken, debauchery mess, 2 failed marriages, absentee from not being present with my kids. And when I got sober, I was like, man, I want to go make an impact on people. I've always had this vibe and good energy and kind of always had the desire to write a book. I just didn't know of what. And then obviously getting smacked in the face with sobriety and rehab. I'm like, man, I'm going to go make an impact for somebody to go be a better dad, mom, son, business owner, friend. So that was the whole reason and premise to get a book out there. It was very therapeutic. Writing a book,
Right.
And going through that whole process.
Right. You know, I write the blog. Glenn does the social media. He leads the energy, I think, in the coffee shop. But I did some writing and doing some writing. I'm taking a little break right now, but we'll be picking back up on writing. And it is very cathartic. It's very cathartic to write 1,500 words on a topic of surrender or acceptance or forgiveness. It's amazing what that does to your own psyche and self.
For sure. Absolutely. Very, very therapeutic. And to this day, I would never have thought I would journal, and I journal every morning. Like
I know, right? I thought
You're one of those,
I
huh?
thought it was a chick thing. Turns out it's a guy thing.
Totally.
Don't tell too many people.
Yeah,
All right, so Ian, real quick, Wild Ride, if you could just outline for our listeners, encapsulate what that looked like, right? So, I mean, clearly for details, they're going to reach out and dive into the book, but just an overview, give us a snapshot of what that looked like.
The age of 1, I had my first sip of beer with my dad, one of those little circle bouncy things back in the early 70s.
I think that's
13.
the earliest I've ever heard somebody start.
Yeah, well, it's pretty darn early. There's pictures in the book to prove it. From there, 13, I was bartending my parents' parties. Didn't really dabble too much into alcohol in high school, but man, as soon as I got out, man, I hit the ground running with some time to make up. And I latched on to business, really intrigued me, and entertaining and booze and clients. I was an All-American at for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And during that time, kids, 2 failed marriages, finally hit rehab, getting nudged into and encouraged to. And after that, man, my world has absolutely drastically changed being sober and realizing nothing ever good came out of it, even though I was trying to build my business. And I did. I sold my business for 8 figures in 2016. And I just lived and breathed that party mode to entertain clients, thinking I was growing my business and doing really good things and providing things for my family and homes and cars. And that was not the case.
Yeah, and you were good. You were good at it. You know, I
was an All-American. I should get a green jacket or a yellow jacket.
Get an Olympic gold medal.
Sure. That's right.
Awesome. All-American. I love how you put that. So you went to rehab, and then what happened after rehab? What kind of program did you dive into?
So there was it's no longer available. They had one in Seattle, Washington, and it was called Schick Shadle. And at one point they had one in Florida. And it's called aversion therapy, where they actually induce vomiting. They give you alcohol, swish it around in your mouth, and you violently vomit until you actually don't like booze or the smell of it or the taste.
I know.
Never heard of that.
I was being quiet over here until I read this book. I had never heard of it as either. It is, yes, intense.
That is amazing.
Super intense. So I went into rehab.
Wait, hold on. So intense that you dragged your friend to one of them, or tried to drag your friend to one of them.
I had a couple clients in front of me, a good friend in front of me that went, and I went and grabbed a friend.
That's right.
In need to get him to one for sure.
Yeah, right. It works.
The success rate is phenomenal on it.
So the aversion therapy, is that like a one-shot thing, or like with AA, right? It's the ongoing working of the steps, and it's a never-ending process. It sounds like almost aversion therapy. It's a one-stop shop.
It pretty much was. They had a 78% success rate to get people not to drink, and it's 10 days, and it's super intense. Do you guys have kids? You know what Apicac is? It induces vomiting, right?
Yep.
So you actually start, they give you that. You go into, and there's nurses and doctors there. You kind of go into, just like your normal doctor's office, but it's a full bar. There's a big mirror in front of you with a silver bucket. And the nurse, we call them bartenders, we're off to our right.
Wait, they call them bartenders.
You have got to be kidding me.
Yes, they call them bartenders.
Oh, my God. I can totally see this working.
Yeah, so they give you Epicac, and in about 9 minutes, you do not feel all that great. Quite woozy, kind of like you're hungover, and you want to kind of get sick. And then you start with another 16 ounces of warm salt water that you take down. And then the bartender pours a shot, hands you, for me, vodka, and you swish it around in your mouth, and you put it in the little silver bowl in front of you. And about the second one, you can't, before something hits your lips, you're throwing up in a bucket in front of you.
Yeah.
So they do that to you for 10 days?
So you do 5 days. They're called Duffy days. So one day you go into the Duffy room or go see the bartender. And the second day you are with the counselor, you're with a group. They sedate you to get into your subconscious. So you have a nurse, an IV, and then your counselor with a computer. And they ask you 26 questions, 24 to 26 questions. And you don't know it because you're sedated. They really get into your subconscious, which was a trip. And they ask you these questions, and you go see your counselor. It only lasts about 12 minutes when they ask you these questions. Then you go see your counselor and kind of dissect questions, and they'll be like, so Jimmy was an influence of booze on you. And you're like, Jimmy? Who's Jimmy? Like you're trying to remember, like, oh, wow, that was like when I was 20 years old. So it was a trip when they evaluate the questions they asked you, and like, you know, who was an influence? When did you start drinking? Like, they would just ask you random questions, and I was mind blown by the answers, because I was like, half some of the people I listed, I'm like, I barely even remember them until they told me sitting in my counseling.
Right.
And then, so you do a Duffy Day, a counselor day, a Duffy Day. In between that, you're doing group counseling. They kind of focused around the book, The 4 Agreements. Yeah. And then 10 days to this day, almost 7.5 years later, I can go to bars, I can hang out with, you know, I still do all the same things. I just don't have booze in my life.
Right.
But every blue moon, I'll get a whiff of a server or a bartender bringing a shot of Fireball or a martini, and my mouth will water to this day. My aversion's still
in a bad way.
Not in a good way.
Right. In a puke way.
Yeah.
Golly,
So here's the thing that I learned about Ian, and really why I appreciated
Mikey,
the book.
we might have to open up a new office here in Chicago.
I know.
Aversion
no,
therapy.
they don't do it anymore. And
why?
They should. They absolutely should.
But
why don't they do it anymore?
Well, I think because in the state of Washington, very liberal state, they thought it was probably inhumane.
And by the look on your face, you don't disagree.
Wait, there's nothing more inhumane than my drinking.
Yeah, right.
That's what I'm trying to think. I mean, oh my God.
So here's what I know. It worked to turn you abstinent. Okay?
For sure.
But what I read in this book is about a sober Ian who is so much more than just the not drinking.
Quality. So,
yes.
so there's two. The way we look at it or talk about it is there's two sides to the coin. One is stop drinking.
Right.
And then the second one is figure out how to live a good life.
Right.
Quality.
Right. Exactly. And I'd say the bulk of the book really kind of opens up into things like forgiveness of self, forgiveness of others.
So how did you learn all that stuff without some sort of program kind of leading you? How did you learn the quality part of living a great life?
I followed a lot of, I'm a big podcaster. I was into self-help drinking, but I just didn't practice it. Like, I had that discipline of reading, you know, everybody's books out there.
Yeah, I saw your list of Too Good to Great and all those.
Yeah, and I never practiced them. So I had to go back and read books that then it just really resonated with me. And I have a core circle, and I talk a lot about that in the book, is my core 4, my core 6, man. They were my anchors for sure. Yeah. They were my support.
Sober
my
buddies.
gal, my kids.
Yep.
I had such a great support mechanism to be on this path to go be a better person every day. And my circle for sure. And I think a lot of people's circle influences them, right? It's kind of that old saying, show me your 5 friends, I'll show you your future.
Yeah, right.
God, I believe in that so much.
So
how did you pick, I mean, so your quality path was self-directed?
Yes. Yep.
Interesting. And a lot of that was from those core books and self-help and podcasting and curriculum.
For sure. Yes, sir.
Man, that's amazing.
That was a huge thing for me. I just really embraced, you know, man, I'm going to go. I had to look at in the 3rd day in rehab, something just hit me. I don't know if the good Lord touched me on the shoulder. I went into rehab to save my family, my kids, my business.
Well, you went with the ultimatum from your wife that you get sober or she leaves you. How'd that work out?
Not very well.
You got sober. How'd it work out?
We're good friends today, and we co-parent like no other.
So that's the quality part of it. You know, that's when you started numbering, I'm like, well, of course you're numbering because I'm numbering. I'm on number 3, right?
Yeah.
All right. So what kind of stuff do you do for sobriety today? How do you help? How do you give back? I mean, clearly you wrote a book. You're engaged. You're on podcasts for that. You're working that. What kind of? I mean, have you turned in like a sobriety business or like coaching, helping?
I have not. I got a social media gal that's kind of encouraging me to go, you know, hey, go do a couple Zooms a month. So I'm going to kind of entertain that with my social media following. And obviously the podcasts, I get out there a lot just to spread the word and get around guys and gals that are promoting sobriety and the benefits of it and how much life is better once you realize it. But yeah, I don't have a business or anything going on that quite yet.
Well,
Hopefully,
and the other thing you don't have really is an agenda, i.e., in here you talk about AA very favorably, but you also talk about alternatives very favorably. You're pro sobriety. Just please is your plea in this book is please try something. It's worth it. Give something a try. Give something your all, and you'll find a better life on the other side of sobriety.
for sure, health and fitness was a big thing that I dabbled into to support my, that's my new addiction, really.
Yeah, you lost a couple pounds in your process of.
Did I see
80 pounds? I'm sure you saw that picture in there. You're like, who's that guy?
So did I see that you lost 84 pounds or you were 84 pounds?
No. I lost. I was a large Marge. I was pushing, 265, 270.
Wow, large Marge. Fat in Vegas. I love it.
Yeah, I found it to be a very inspirational book. I think that I felt like you were talking to the sober curious out there a little bit, but I also felt like you were talking to somebody who knew they had a problem. And the way that you did talk about your past, and first of all, lent you credibility, and I think a connection. A lot of people can make the connection of being the big shot in the room. Choosing drinks with a client over time with the kid at band. I get there was just a connection there, and I thought it was when I first picked it up. I noticed there's 85 chapters for an 85-page book, but the beauty is each one of those little segments really peeled the onion from a different direction, and it really blended into a real fine story for me that somebody could latch onto. I mean, obviously a quick read, but really good stuff. Just a lot of good nuggets in there.
Yeah, I was never a big reader, and I wanted the book to be super simple, kind of not chapter driven, which you can see it's not, like you said, it's 87 pages with 85 chapters. It's kind of written how I email in caveman text, very quick and short and to the point.
But I love where you've ended up, at least after reading the book and now learning, having this coffee with you this morning. But I see it on your face, which didn't reflect in the book. I could see it in your mannerisms, your face, your confidence, just what sobriety means to you and what it means for you and your partner in your life now, the relationship you have with your 3 kids now. I love in there the reality of the letters they wrote, the reminders of times when you weren't omnipresent in their life.
Sure.
And again, that made a real deep connection to me. But now you have a great relationship with these 3 that you never would have had you not got off the train.
For sure. Yeah. Good Lord knows what would have happened if I would have kept staying on the booze cruise.
Right.
I think one of the most impactful things about your book, and we see a lot of books, I've read almost every, is the pictures.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the pictures are absolutely amazing. From your bed at the Schick Shadle.
Yeah, right.
The Schick Shadle. I mean, God, man, to a picture of you and Shelby, right? Never seen you take a sip of alcohol. I think that says a lot. And your 3 kids. I mean, just, it's pretty easy to see their smiles in every one of those pictures.
Yeah. What's your main message to people? It's obviously they can't go to one of these treatments because they're not around, right? So what's kind of the main message to people as you uncover seekers or sober curious right now? What are you trying to leave them with?
Yeah, that sober curious is such a big. I have so many people because people I know, in my world, of seeing me transform and seeing the person I am today. So many people are sober curious. And even on social media, people I don't know, or people that have read my book and reach out like, hey, you made a big impact on me. There's so many different things it touches. Forgiveness, the importance of, to be present is like, you really evaluate that definition to you, right? Like I was at my kids' games, but I was in the stands giving everybody else booze and red Solo cups, and making sure they're good. Yep. There's a big difference of that presence. Mm-hmm. The biggest thing is just try it, right? If you're sober curious, it's like sober January. People try it for 30 days. Right. And then I talk to those people and they're like, I feel amazing. Right. My head's clear. I have a better relationship. I'm up earlier. I'm more focused at work. So just try it. It's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big pusher of like, hey, don't drink, just try it.
Right.
Because everybody has their time.
Yeah.
I had a lot of red flags of people, hey, you got issues, and I ignored them.
Yeah.
Well, I can't wait to research more on aversion therapy, man. That's got me like really. I was just looking it up. It's like cruel and unusual. I'm like, man, what I did drinking was cruel and unusual.
Yeah, and you tried everything.
I did. Yeah. I was just telling Mikey the last episode, I was going to go to a brain reset, whatever that, like TMZ or something for 3 months. I mean, I was desperate, right? So I can relate to the aversion therapy. And Ian, have you ever heard of antabuse?
It's the pill you take.
Yes.
That pretty similar, right?
Yeah, it gets you violently sick if you drink. And it's funny because I took that for a year. That's kind of my safety net, right? My insurance policy. But of course, I had to try it, right? So just a sip of beer, man, it would be like that aversion, like the red shingles would come across my face and my body, and oh my God, my body would start shutting down. So it kind of reminded me of that aversion therapy. But man, what a wild story! Talk about a wild ride.
It is,
But really, really pumped that you found sobriety and. What I picked up on is the word quality. I think a lot of people when they're sober curious, and we use that term a lot, but, they have no idea how great life can be without boozing, right? Without the pain. And, I mean, booze is fun for a while. Booze worked great for me. Booze probably got me 3 promotions, right? Because I was networking. I was, but,
For sure.
But then it didn't.
Yeah, right.
So really great to have you on, Ian. Thanks for taking a couple of minutes. We'll make sure everything gets up on the resource room.
Yeah, you'll have a link to the book in the resource room.
Yeah, book's on Amazon, right?
Yep.
And do you have a website and all that? We'll make sure all that gets up there. And no,
it's makeitgreat.me, and then just my name, Ian Fee, on social media, and the book is on Amazon for $11.99.
That's perfect, man.
Highly recommended. Ian, thank you so much for joining us, man.
Man, really, I can't thank you enough for having me, and keep doing what you guys do, man, and keep pushing because you guys are making an impact, and
thanks,
I appreciate
brother.
you having me for coffee.
You got it, man. Love it.
Thank you, Ian. Have a great one.
Ian. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us for today's coffee chat. To contact the show, email us at podcast@sober.coffee. If you need immediate help, the AA hotline is 800-839-1686. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 800-273-8255. Remember, Mike and Glenn are sharing their own journey on the path to recovery. Any suggestions, medical or otherwise, are their own experiences and should not be viewed as professional advice. See you next week, and remember, there is a solution.
Stay safe in the city of Chicago.